Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening from Nigeria. Good evening. This has been long awaited. Individuals are actually have been waiting for this live stream, this conversation that we're going to be having tonight. Adeh Jones, I want to ask something. It got into my head, but I just want to understand if it's actually true. Can someone become, let me say, change his sexual identity from being straight to becoming a homosexual because of trauma? Is it possible?
Very possible.
Okay, I wanted to write that on my timeline, but I said, let me wait for the expert to come in and share with us. All right.
Very possible.
So, you are all welcome. We have been waiting for this session. Um, I'm very particularly interested in this session because I have a son that I'm keenly interested in. He is becoming a great man. I know that my dad, having undergone neuro linguistic programming, I could understand some of the things that my dad did when we were young, and
Yeah.
I had to forgive him. In that class, we had to open up our hearts to forgive our parents for some of the things they did in ignorance, in trying to raise us. But the thing is that I know that a lot of individuals became traumatized. Some individuals today are living their lives as a result of the trauma of their childhood. And that is the
Yes.
conversation that we're having today. And I know that this conversation is going to help men. This conversation is going to help people who are newlyweds. This conversation is going to help new moms, those who are aspiring to become couples. Because from what we're going to learn today, you'll be properly informed or properly become knowledgeable about how you can deal with your children. I mean, whether your
Yeah.
male or your female children. And guys, welcome to today's conversation at this time of the day. Let's know in the comment section where you are tuning in from. If you are in Nigeria, let me see in the comment section that you are tuning in from Nigeria. If you are outside of Nigeria, please let me know in the comment section, and then I will share further information. Um, and I think the trauma that people like have experienced in their childhood is as a result of um, these things that we have with sexual identities now. People are switching identities to become, I don't know, there are so many identities now. Some individuals may even get to the point of identifying as a bottle. I don't know, but I think we are getting there. You can identify yourself as a bottle. Maybe we are getting there. And I was seeing a movie yesterday, a series on Netflix titled "How to Become a Cult Leader." And one of the things that makes cult leaders to be who they are, um, becoming in control of people's minds, is when they're able to target a particular individual, especially youngsters who are navigating life at the point where they're looking for meaning in their lives. And so, for
Mm.
example, you find ladies, young girls who become pregnant because of they are looking for a meaning, and they don't have a father or a mother that is providing that meaning for them and helping them to navigate through life. A young man can just come and show them some form of love, and then they find meaning in those expressions, and they can open their legs and do whatever it is. And that's why some of these things happen. You know, we're not looking at those kinds of conversations. So tonight, I can see Obianuji all the way from UK. I can see Esther Daniel. I can see Cynthia Ofor. I can see Faith Boyo all the way from Kaduna. Bele Wachuku watching from Makodi, and Aisa Kaze and Nenche watching from Jos. I know that other individuals are going to be putting their comments in the comment section. So please, I want you guys to do something. Please share this live stream. This conversation is very topical. Share this live stream on your timeline, and please go and mention 20 of your friends to be part of this conversation. Let 20 of your friends tag them in the comment section. Let them come. Your friends that are married, your friends that have kids, your friends that are about to get married, the singles that you know, let them come, because from what we are going to be having as conversation tonight, you're going to be having some understanding of why you do some of the things that you do. I remember many parents back in the days raising their kids. They'll put pepper in our nyash, they'll put pepper in our eyes. I mean, a lot of things just to be able to correct kids. But some of those things traumatize young children, and today they have become, I don't know, broken. and that's why they're living the kind of life that they're living. So I have with me this evening, I have with me Adeh Jones. We used to call him Malam Adeh Jones. I don't know whether he still answers Malam now. But I have with me Adeh Jones, and he's going to be sharing with us and teaching us how to navigate childhood trauma. We may have become traumatized. We may not even know if we have been traumatized, but if we have an understanding that we have become traumatized, how do we navigate childhood trauma so that we can live better lives? Thank you so much, Adeh Jones, for coming on this live stream and this session to share with us this evening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Um,
So,
Once
guys,
again,
yeah, thank you. So, guys, one more time before Ade Jones starts to teach, because he's going to teach us for the next 45 minutes to 50 minutes. As I said, share this live stream to your timeline and please invite your friends. I can see Faith. Faith has invited five of her friends, fantastic woman. Please invite five of your friends, 10 of your friends, and let's come have this conversation. All right. So, Ade Jones, I'm going to step away from the screen and then you will have the floor and teach us and share with us how we can navigate childhood trauma. Thank you very much, sir.
thank you so much, Emeka Nobis, for creating this opportunity for us to have this conversation. The conversation we'll be having today is a conversation that is close to my heart in two sense. The first is I had my own issues of trauma experience I had to deal with while growing up. And then secondly, in my line of work, I meet people literally daily who are struggling with one form of trauma or the other, and they don't even know what to do. So today's conversation will be centering around two set of people. The first set of people are people who don't even know what trauma is, of course, because of lack of education around trauma. And then the second set of people are people who they know the issues they have. However, they are asking themselves, where can I get intervention or how can I deal with it? So let's start with the first set of people. When we talk about the term trauma, all we're saying is a wound. That's what trauma is all about. Wound, wound. That's what trauma is all about, right? And I want to believe this understanding will kick off the the shame around the word trauma. So a lot of people want to, you know, be in denial of the fact that they have wounds. But we all have wounds in different degree. There are situations and events that will lead to wounds. And we must understand that these wounds is not your fault. So a lot of times, trauma might not even be your fault. Trauma might just be a coping mechanism to navigate experiences that has imputed pain to you emotionally, mentally, or psychologically. So when we start the conversation, you ask if trauma can make someone, change his sexual preferences. Let me give you an example. I had this boy, who, of course, he's a great guy. He's from a Christian home. His father is a religious leader. I know the family very well. And then all of a sudden, the guy started, cross dressing. And then with time, we heard, of course, I heard from my sister-in-law that he's gay. And we got surprised. So in one of the conversations with his dad called him and said, "What's happening? You were raised in a very good home, and you know what we stand for. At what point did you feel this is what's ideal?" And then this is what he told his father. He told his father that, "I remember one time I wore my mother's clothes, and then you told me I look beautiful, right? I wore my mother's clothes, and then you said I look beautiful." And for those of us who have children who are boys, you you find out that there are some times where our children just want to wear their mommy's clothes, they want to wear their mommy's shoes, of course, out of curiosity. They just want to play. However, if you're not careful, or if due to your family system, you are not there to validate your child, which is a major need a child needs. there are what you say to your child will take them literally and feel, oh, this is how you see them, or this is what they have to do, or this is what they have to become for you to accept it. And then, like for this boy, for him, he felt because his father validated the fact that he dressed in his mommy's clothes, probably if he continues that, he will continue to get the attention and the validation of his father. Now, this can happen in different ways. So, trauma, like we said, is an injury, it's a wound that you sustain. And like every wound, um, if you don't take intentional steps to work on the wound, your body will find a way to deal with the wound. So, let me give an example. If I dislocate my hand and then I don't find guided intervention to work on the dislocation in my hand, the pain will stop with time. That the pain stop does not mean I have healed or treated the hand. Now, the pain might go, however, that pain can disrupt other aspects of my life. That pain can deprive me from doing certain things with that hand. And I'll be conscious of that hand to make sure that nothing hurts me again. That's what happened to experiences or events that caused wound to us emotionally, mentally, or psychologically. Now, today's conversation is about childhood trauma. Childhood trauma just means that some form of distress or wound we got from childhood because of experiences that were not ecological to the needs of a child. So I usually tell people trauma oftentimes is not what happens to you. Of course, something can happen to you and it will be traumatic, right? Like crisis, like robbery, kidnapping, of course, auto, auto crash. These are things happening to you that can impute so much stress to your physiology. However, trauma too can happen because certain things didn't happen to you, right? So, as a child, if certain experiences that are necessary for your balanced development didn't happen to you, that can impute injury or pain to you. And as a child, because you do not have the skill or the awareness to navigate those experiences, your body will find a way as a coping mechanism to deal with those pain. So instead of expressing those pain, your body will find a way to either numb this pain or express certain behaviors that will help you achieve some form of coping or adaptive mechanism to navigate that experience that is causing you pain. So let me bring this as an example. Um, a child is born to have his needs met, his concerns met, right? That's why if a child is crying and then you go and carry the child will keep quiet because at that point the child needs soothing. One of the major needs of a child is that a child should be suited. However, because of our culture, because of social narrative, you hear parents saying, if your child is crying too much, don't carry him. The child will be okay. What it means is this child is trying to call your attention that I am distressed. Come and soothe me. Come and carry me. Come and make me safe. But when you leave that child there, you don't carry that child. The child will learn not to give the message that I am hot again. Because the child will not learn that no, when I give this message that I'm hot, help does not come, soothing does not come. So the child will just learn to numb his or her pain. The child will learn to dissociate from experiences that cause him or her pain. So, what are these experiences that a child needs to have that if he or she does not have, it can lead to trauma imprint? So, there are five major experiences a child needs. The first is every child desire to be seen. Every child desire to be seen. Of course, for those of us who are parents, when our children are growing up from the age of 2 to 4, in their conversation, you hear, Mommy, see, Daddy, see, Mommy, see, Daddy, see. They want to be seen. They want you to see what they are doing. Their esteem is tied to the fact that what they are doing makes sense to you, right? The other need is they want to be heard. Your child want you to hear them. That's why we are told that children, when they start talking in a day, they can talk an average of 800 words. They want you to hear them. They want to talk to you. They can talk to you every second. They just want to talk to you. Is a need for them that they want to be heard. The other need is a need for safety. Children want to feel safe around you. For children, you are their world, you are their succor. As a matter of fact, every human being is designed that your safety comes from your parents. If a chicken has children and then there's a thunderstorm, you realize that the children will run and then hide, beneath their mother. If there's a goat that is not, like, if a goat is scared, the goat will run, towards the mother, because your sense of security and safety, you find it around your parents. Same with a child. If a child is scared, if a child is anxious, if a child is distressed, the child needs the parent to offer this sense of regulation. So safety comes from the parent. The other need is the need for soothing. Soothing means I am going through so much pain and then I don't know how to soothe myself. However, culturally, you hear, why are you crying like a child? Are you a girl? Keep quiet. Now, this child is crying. This child is, expressing tantrum. Instead of the parent to help this child regulate, however, for a lot of children, they are hushed. Keep quiet. You're crying too much. And in some instance, this child that is crying will even be beating them up for crying. So this is what happens with time. Instead of expressing this distress, instead of expressing this need, instead of saying, oh, I need this form of attention, I need to be heard, oh, I'm anxious, I'm scared, I need this safety, instead of expressing it, the child will learn not to express it again. And the child will learn to either numb it or start behaving in ways that will help the child cope. So there are 4 ways children learn to cope with these wounds that are not given adequate attention. The first form of coping is by people pleasing. So children learn to please. Children learn to give up their authenticity just to get the attention, to get the validation of their parents. If a child knows that, oh, if I cry, I'll be shamed, or if I express pain, I'll be demeaned, the child will learn not to cry. The child will learn to become that child my parents want. That's the first. The child learns to people please. So this child becomes an adult that is so careful about how other people perceive him or her. Right? This child is so concerned about being accepted than being authentic. The second form of coping mechanism is hypervigilance. Hypervigilance is when a child is so much concerned, or the child have learned to scan the emotions of the parent, right? Because over time, this parent, instead of being your source of safety, is your source of pain. So I need to keep watching, for the emotions of my parents, because around my parents, I don't know when they're in the right frame of mind. I don't know when they are happy. And if they're not happy, their unhappiness bring pain to me. So if my parents are unhappy, if they will hit me, I will learn to start scanning for their emotions. And then I'll start walking on eggshells. So children who are raised in an environment where there's no certainty of emotional connection with their parents learn to start walking on eggshells. They become adults who are so keen about how other people feel. They don't want to hurt other people. They become martyrs. All right. Oh, I would rather starve myself to make you comfortable around you. I can't just be myself. Hypervigilance is another way of coping with emotional and physiological wounds. Another form of coping with emotional or physiological wound is dissociation. So you hear adults say, "I turned out well," right? So let me give you this example. I had this client that was telling me her painful experience, with her mom, and then she said, "Right now, my mom is very sick, but well, I don't feel it. I don't feel like seeing her. Well, my mom hurt me. My mom said this and that. Well, I've forgiven her, but I don't feel for her, right? I don't feel for her." Well, she could say, "Yes, my mom hurt me, but I don't feel for her." That's dissociation. You are trying not to feel the hurt. You are trying to numb the hurt you feel. So children grow up numbing how they feel. They grow up, finding a way to tell themselves that no, this pain is not there. All right. Though I went through so much physiological pain, though I went through emotional abuse, though I went through physical abuse, though I went through verbal abuse, I don't feel it. Why? They have learned to numb how they feel. And then for people who have learned to numb how they feel, they perfect the skill of avoiding conflict. So one of the traces of hypervigilance is people avoid conflict. Anything that will elicit conflict, they avoid it. Why? Because they have learned that conflict brings pain, and then they can't stand pain. For them, what they need to do is to avoid pain. So they avoid people, places that will lead to physiological pain, because conflict brings pain to them. Conflict brings pain. So they learn to keep quiet. They learn to walk away. By the way, there are four expressions of trauma. The first is the fight. So if something happens to you, you want to fight back. You lash back. The other one is flight. You run away from the thing causing you problem, right? You run away from conversation that cause you problem. You run away from people that cause you problem. You just avoid them. The other part is the freeze, right? You just remain there. Well, the worst will happen. Now that's why there are people who they are perpetually attracted to people who abuse them. They are perpetually attracted to people who cause them pain, right? In relationship, they will always be attracted to narcissists. They'll always be attracted to people who will not be emotionally available. Why? Because for them, their form of coping with experiences that are traumatic to them is by freeze. They are just there. Then the other is the found response. Found response means I have to find a way, to please you, because if I please you, you don't hurt me. So let me give an example. If your father is an alcoholic, right? And then of course, you can't change your father. Your father will come back drunk and then cause him problem. One of the ways you can navigate this your father that is an alcoholic is to find a way to be playful around him. Because if you're playful around him, he will not hurt you, or she will not hurt you. Now that's the found response. So these are the responses, the trauma imprint that constantly plays out in relationship, that constantly plays out in marriage, that constantly plays out in parenting, that constantly plays out in how we deal with money, in our career, and all that. What you have to do is to pay attention to how has this experience impacted me, because most of our challenges in life, either in marriage or in parenting, in our finances, are tied to trauma imprints that happened in the past. Well, like the analogy I gave about that wound, with trauma, when your body revisits that experience, it revisits it to mean this experience is happening now. Let me give this example with one of my clients. Um, he's a brilliant artist. I mean, he draws very well. However, he has an issue with pricing, right? If you ask him how much is this piece of art, you like, how much do you want to pay, right? He's scared of giving a price. So one time we met, and then I had a conversation with him. At what point did you get to this point where to name a price is an issue for you, all right? Is it because you don't feel your work is awesome, or is it because you feel you are not deserving of the price you give to it? And then our conversations, I asked him, at what point did you start having shame attached to money? And then he gave me an experience with his dad. When he was small, in primary school, it was time for graduation. So he went back home and then told his father, their auntie said they should bring money for graduation. That's for gown. His father didn't answer him. And then the next day he went back to school, and other people, had brought their money for graduation. And he's remaining. So the teacher said, if you don't bring money, you will not join the list of those that will wear gown and they march. And then so he went back home again, and then he told his dad, they said we should bring money for gown. I'm the only one that has not brought money. And then the father just lashed on him, right? Come on, go and sit down. Yourself, are you the only child? Why will you always be disturbing that you need money for this, you need money for that? And the way the father lashed on him, of course, as a child, that you don't know why your father is lashing on you. He recluved, he felt bad, he felt shameful. And then because he felt shameful, he didn't ask for that money again. Now, that experience happened over 2 decades ago. However, experience that involves him asking for money, even as an artist, he struggles with it, because for him, his association with money is shame. And then where did that association comes from? His relationship with his dad, right? His relationship with his dad. How his dad lashed on him when he made requests around money. And now this is what happens with children. Your child will not know why you're lashing on him or her. Maybe you had a bad day, maybe you don't have money, but when you lash on your child, what the child will do is the child will interpret to mean, oh, I am the reason my father is not happy, I am the reason my mother is not happy. Or the child will interpret to mean, oh, something is wrong with me, that's why they are lashing on me. If I'm a good child, they will not lash on me. The reason why they're lashing on me, the reason why they're beating me, the reason why they are not available for me is because something is wrong with me. And if a child feels something is wrong with him or her, then this wound gets stored, and this wound dictates how this child relates with other people, how the child will relate with people, relationship, how the child will relate with money, how the child will relate, of course, with his or her own children when this child becomes a parent. Now, I have a client, and this client, I mean, she's so successful financially. I mean, she's doing well. However, right, she has a fractured relationship with her mom, and she has been struggling to mend this relationship. And then in one of the conversations I had with her, I said, tell me what happened. And then she started telling me about her mom. Her mom raised her as a single mom. And then when the mom raised her, the mom was 17 when she gave birth to her. And then the mom needed to go to school. So the mom took her to her grandmother. So the grandmother raised her while that gave her time to go to school, to further, and then, of course, have a career that she takes care of her daughter who stays with her grandma. However, the daughter grew up having this pain of not having her mother close to her. Remember, I said trauma is not just what happens to you, trauma is what is supposed to happen to you that didn't happen to you. Of course, as a child, you want to feel your parents are around you, you want to feel they love you. For her, because she was raised by her grandmother, she felt the reason why her mother had to keep her with her grandmother was because the mother wasn't proud of her. Was she right to say the mother wasn't proud of her? Well, that does not matter here, because the interpretations of a child, to the child, that interpretation is valid, right? If you physically abuse a child, to you, of course, you are disciplining the child, but how the child feels about that discipline, that's what matters, right? You might be doing everything to give your child a better life. If to the child you're not emotionally available, to that child, that's a big deal. Let me share my own experience. While growing up, I resented my father for like 2 decades. I resented my father so well that I used to pray for him to die. Now, my dad is a good guy, right? And then he's a pastor. So it means as a pastor or as an evangelist, you're doing God's work, right? You're not at home. And then as a little boy, I felt he didn't love me. That was why he was not around. So I lost that resentment that my dad didn't love me all through my adult life. As a matter of fact, the first time I had this conversation with my dad about how I felt for him was when when I turned 27 after university. I said, listen, I'll come back home. I'll tell my dad how I feel about him, and then I'll leave the house and then tell him bye bye. Right? So this day I came back home. Luckily, he was around, and then my mom was around. So I picked my bag. I said, I want to have a word with you. And then he said, fine. So I started telling him that I've harbored this hurt for a long time. And then I want to tell him because for me, I feel if I tell him, I can live my life. I tell him how I felt, how he was not there, how he didn't care. I was telling him because of the pent in hurt. I was crying, telling him this. For the first time, my mom was seeing me talk to my dad like this. My mom was crying. I was crying. My dad was there just looking at me. I poured in my heart. I poured in my heart how I felt about him. And then when I was done pouring how I felt, I exhaled. Everywhere was silent. I went in, got my things to leave. So he told my mom that, he wants to have a word with me. So my mom said, no, I shouldn't go. My dad wants to have a word with me. So, I sat down and then he said, well, in all this thing I've said, he have heard me, right? However, what he want to tell me is, even God knows, of course, because he's a pastor, everything has to be God. So he will say, even God knows he cares for me. Even God knows he loves me. Even God knows he's praying for me. He will be using, even God knows. Even God knows. Even God knows. And then after everything he said, well, what you want to tell me is that um he loves me, but he didn't know how to show me because he didn't know what it means to have a father-child relationship. So apparently, my dad lost his dad when he was 3. So my dad, lived with one of his uncle. That okay, while we're growing up, he was a captain, so he's a military person, and then he wasn't staying. So my dad never had this male figure that was available for him, that really model what it means to be a father or to have this father-child relationship. So he didn't know, and then he didn't express it to me. But as a little child, while growing up, I just felt that the reason why he was not there in my life was because he didn't care. If you remember when I was sharing about trauma, I said there are 5 critical needs of a child. The child wants to feel you are available. The child wants to feel seen. The child wants to feel heard. The child wants to feel that he or she is safe around you. More importantly, the child wants to feel suited, right? So if emotionally you're not there, this can impute emotional, mental, and physiological injury to this child. It might not make sense to you, but to this child, is valid. It's valid. And interpretations elicits feeling, right? And of course, a child will always interpret it to mean it's because something is wrong with me that my father was not there in my life. Oh, if I were to be a good child, my father will express love to me. Oh, the reason why my father is not expressing love to me or my mother is not in my life is because, oh no, something is wrong with me. Let me share one last example. One of my clients was sexually abused when she was small by her uncle. And then when she told her mom had to beat and tell her, why did you go to his room? How many times have I told you not to go to his room? She felt so hot. She felt so bitter. And then she learned not to talk. Dissociation. She learned not to talk. She learned that after all, no one will hear me. No one will believe me. By the way, talking instead of bringing security brings pain. That's how she interpreted it. She felt, oh, something must be wrong with me, um, for me to make my uncle sexually abuse me. For years, right? She felt guilty, she felt shameful for being responsible for how her uncle saw her as a vessel to abuse. And then this is what happens with children, because children don't have the emotional wherewithal to interpret experiences that cause them pain. They will feel they are the reason why this person is not happy, or this person is causing them pain. So I hear, um so you hear parents say this, the reason why I'm beating you is because you are the one that made me angry. A parent will lash on the child and then tell the child, you are the one that made me shout, right? A parent will treat a child in a demeaning way and say, you are the reason why I acted this way. Now, the child will now grow up believing, okay, something must be wrong with me for making mommy angry. Something has to be wrong with me for making daddy angry. Something has to be wrong with me, for making this person treat me this way. That's how a child, interprets it. So this child will grow up with the sense of inadequacy, the sense of shame, the sense of guilt, the sense of I am not enough. And if a child grows up with this mindset or with this interpretation, the child will now start navigate through people or places that sees them, people or places that accepts them, people or places that treats them like they matter. Now, this is the irony, right? They might think they want to navigate to people who accept them, but the way the human system is designed, you always want to navigate to environments you are peculiar with. So it means if you were raised in pain, automatically you want to navigate around environments that will cause you pain, right? If you were raised by narcissistic parents, unconsciously you will navigate around partners or friends that will be narcissistic to you, because it's not about the other person, it's about you, because you are emitting certain energy that is making the other person treat you a certain way. You are emitting certain energy that is making the other person treat you a certain way. So I tell I tell people who are desiring to go into relationship, don't tell people that there are red flags. Red flags are the only experiences they know all their life while growing up. You expect someone not to go into a relationship where the person is emotionally unavailable, when this person all his or her life he had parents that were emotionally unavailable, and he has learned to master how to navigate people who are emotionally unavailable, right? You are saying this person should not settle down with someone who physically abuses them, when all their life they were raised by parents that physically abuse them. Now, that is what they are used to. So unconsciously, they will navigate towards people that will treat them like where they are coming from, right? They don't know what is not a red flag, because for them, this what we call red flag is an experience for them. That is all they know. That is all they have learned to navigate. That is all they have learned to navigate, right? Now, these are experiences that offers wound, physiological wound. At the end of the day, the question is, how do I navigate experiences that are causing physiological injury to me? All right. Now, this for the second set of people. For the first set of people, I said we need to understand what is trauma. And I said, trauma is just a wound that has happened to you. Trauma is not your fault. It's not your fault that you're a people pleaser. It's not your fault that issues around money, you avoid it, you are shameful about money, you rather demean yourself. It's not your fault that, you walk around eggshells around people. No, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault that you avoid love. It's not your fault that you push away people who love you, and you rather want to go around people who are not emotionally available, who are not mentally available, who are not socially available, who are not sexually available. No, it's not your fault. It's because of experience that happened in the past. It's not your fault because we live in a society that have normalized this form of abuse. We live in a society that has normalized this form of experiences that can be traumatic to a child. Culturally, they tell you if your child is crying, don't carry your child. Culturally, if a child is crying, instead of regulating the child, they'll start singing for the child. Cry, cry, baby, see your mouth. Shame. By the way, no child desires to cry for fun's sake. No child desires to throw tantrum for throwing sake. No, the child is throwing tantrum because that's the way the child have learned to communicate that I have a problem, see me, help me regulate. We live in a society that normalizes physical and emotional abuse on children. So it's not your fault, right? And trauma is not something you should be ashamed of. No, trauma is not your doing. Trauma is your body's form of navigating or coping with experiences that are causing emotional and physiological pain to you, right? It's not you, it's your body. It's your body trying to tell you, oh, listen, oh, this experience that has happened caused you pain. So I don't want you to experience this pain again. Or, oh, this experience caused you some form of injury. Let's relate to it like this so that it won't cost you so much pain again. So how we navigate trauma is not intentional. It's your body that just wants to make sure that you are safe. One of the major responsibility of your system is that they want to make sure that you are safe. Your system don't want you to experience pain again. Your system don't want you to go through so much distress. So if your body senses that, oh, there's an experience that has caused you pain before, your system will want to step in and then, to help you navigate it. All right. So that's what trauma is all about. It's normal. We all have one or two degree of trauma. And then of a truth, a lot of times the people who caused us pain, those traumatic pain, are not even doing it intentionally. They too are struggling with their own trauma issues, right? Your parents didn't shame you when in regards to finances because they want to, make you feel demeaned. No, they too are dealing with their own issues. They too didn't have people who modeled how to navigate that. And then over and over again. Now to the second set of people. What do you do if you've had experiences that constitute physiological pain? How do you navigate traumatic experiences? There are three ways to navigate traumatic experiences. The first is assess experiences that are causing you pain and take responsibility. You cannot deal with traumatic experiences when you are comfortable pointing accusatory finger at people, at experiences that have happened in the past. Yes, it happened. Yes, that person, was a conduit that caused you pain, but you have to take responsibility for your healing. You have to take responsibility. You need to now start assessing it. Responsibility in the sense that for every form of trigger, so trigger means your body is trying to remind you of an experience that happened in the past that caused you pain. So let me give this example I hear a lot with parents. Now, this is the example. You hear parents say, you are the reason why I shouted on you. You are the reason why I beat you. So I had this client who said, Coach, oh, I don't know how to stop. Little thing, I shout on my daughter. Little thing, I shout on my daughter. And then I said, how do you feel? Or what will she do that will make you shout on her? When I tell her to do something and then she doesn't do it immediately. Okay. So how do you feel if she does not do it immediately? If she not do it immediately, I feel as if she's not hearing me. Okay. How do you feel if she's not hearing you? Well, I feel invisible. Follow the line of conversation. Who were the people in your life that made you feel invisible? My dad. My dad. No matter what I did, right? I felt invisible. I didn't feel I was enough. Ting dong, not feeling enough became a physiological wound. And then today, if she talks to her daughter, by the way, I grew up, no one was hearing me. I'm a parent. You have to hear me. When I give instruction and then you don't hear me, it reminds me of the past as a child. My father not hearing me, making me feel invincible. So it might look as if it's my child that is making me feel small. It's my child that's making me feel invincible. No, what is making me feel small is that in my system, there are experiences that has happened in the past that made me feel invincible. That if it plays out with my child, my body feels it's in the past. So when you feel triggered, when you feel hurt, it's not what is happening now that is the problem. It's an experience that happened in the past that you didn't deal with. So let me give you an example. If you were stung by a scorpion, right, in the past, and then it hurts you, and then today I bring a scorpion and tell you that thing that will sting you, I've removed it. Look at it, and then I throw it in your body. Will you embrace it calmly? No, you won't. Why? Because even though I've told you this will not sting you, even though I've told you I've removed that thing that can sting you, your body, because of the injury of the past, your body wants to make you feel safe. So your body will jerk off in defense, right? The fight or flight response will be triggered. So you want to run away. So it's not this scorpion, it's not this present experience that is making you run or fight or flight. No, it's the experience that happened in the past that your system have saved it, right? Your skin is a saving memory. Right? So if an experience that has happened in the past, if your system sees as if, oh, this experience has happened in the past before, your body would trigger. So, and then that's what happens in other forms of our relationship. You find people who perpetually, they always end up with people that will be abusive to them. Or you find people who they don't like conflict, right? Any little conflict, they want to avoid it. It's not the conflict with their partner that is making them back down. It's not the conflict with their partner that is making them avoid, difficult conversation. No, it's very possible that while growing up, difficult conversation led to pain. And then because the body have learned that, oh, when mommy raises her voice, danger is coming, hurt will come. In relationship, when one of the partners raises voice, they will recluse, right? Flight, freeze, they will recluse because this kind of experiences perpetually has led to pain before. So that's the first thing you need to do. You need to take responsibility for your actions. You can't continue to blame people for your actions. You need to now start assessing what are the experiences that happened in the past that is playing out again. Trauma is a pattern. As a matter of fact, is a transgenerational pattern. The pattern that was not dealt with in the past, it will be transferred to you, and then unconsciously you repeat it to your children, you repeat it in your marriage, you repeat it on how you relate with money, you repeat it on how you relate with your friends. Is a pattern. Is a pattern. And the third perspective you need to take in order to deal with trauma is that if you can afford it, you need to now start taking steps towards getting intervention. Intervention means getting some form of awareness into your past, right? Awareness into your past. It might be a therapist that will help you understand what are the experiences that has happened in the past that have made you start behaving like this. What are the experiences that happened in the past that is making you contribute to you attracting partners that are abusive, partners that are emotionally not available? What are the experiences that has happened in the past that have made you run away from conversations that whenever there's conflict, you run away? What are the experiences that has happened in the past that has made you, whenever money is involved, like it triggers you, you feel ashamed, you feel guilty, you feel anxious around money? What are the experiences in the past that have made you overcompensate with money, right? You overspend, you get the money, but every month you will always be broke. You can have 10 million naira in a month, you will always be broke. What are the experiences that are making you overcompensate? Or what are the experiences that are making you, right, undercompensate? So you need to take this step to get intervention. Another form of intervention is to start reading around trauma, right? Um, do I have experiences or traumatic experiences that I'm struggling with? What aspect of my life that I'm struggling that is as a result of trauma, right? You can get information. There are books you can buy. You can go on internet. You can go on Google. There are like, I mean, loads of information that can start guiding you around getting the awareness. And the reason why for me I'm key about getting some form of intervention is um, because you are in the frame. You know, your mind will live in denial of the experiences. You will not even know is an issue. So you might need someone outside to tell you this thing is an issue. Oh, you're struggling in this aspect of your life. Oh, this is why you're struggling. Oh, this is why you're struggling. And then they will now guide you on how to get intervention. And then the last aspect of intervention is you need to now start being around people that elicits your desire. You need to start being around people that elicit your desire, right? um you don't like struggling with finances. You desire to have money, but you're more comfortable with people who are broke. So you need to painfully start staying around people who are thriving financially, instead of bad mouthing people who are making money. Instead of finding the reason to stay around people who are struggling financially, be around people who are doing well. If you're raised in a home where there is so much toxic, start being around people who in their life there's serenity, there is order, there is this sense of safety. Start being around communities that elicit what you desire as a parent. Start being around parents who are parenting intentionally. Start being around parents who are on the journey of healing. That way, you feel safe. That way, you feel seen. That way, you feel validated, and it will be a stepping stone on your journey of healing and intervention. There is so much more we can talk about trauma, its impact in other aspects of our life, and then how we can get intervention. However, because of time, I'll stop here so that we'll attend to questions and they get some forms of feedback. So once again, thank you so much more, Emeka, Nobis, for this opportunity, for us to educate people and then point people to places where they can get intervention.
Okay, thank you so much, Adeh Jones. But I know that you are an expert, you're a coach on helping individuals, you're a therapist that helps individuals overcome. Why did you exclude your name from the individuals that can help us? Yeah.
Of course, because all of us are here, we all know I'm a therapist, right? However, there are other forms of therapy people can get. There are a lot of therapists out there, so it's options, right? However, like you said, I'm a therapist. If you're at that point in your life where you feel, oh, I have this issue, I'm struggling with this issue in my life, and then I need some form of intervention, I'll be here to guide you navigate that journey.
Thank you so much. So, guys, if you've got questions, please drop your question now. Drop your questions in the comment section. I don't know if you have shared this live stream. Please, I'd like us to share this live stream right now. If you have shared the live stream, please type in the comment section shared, because a lot of individuals really need to listen to this conversation that we've had tonight. So please let me see you type shared in the comment if you have shared. Just quickly tap the share button and share this live stream to your timeline. And then you can drop your question in the comment section. I mean, we can go on and on. I am in Enugu State at the moment, so I can still allow Ade Jones to continue, because I mean, over here, I can tell you for a fact that some of the things that you've shared really, and that's the beauty of education. I must tell you the truth. I attended, just like you, under Innocentosa, the neuro linguistic programming, and that has really helped me a lot in dealing with my own
Mm,
kids. Like in my house, there's never a negative comment that should go towards the kids. All our
yeah,
house help, they do know that nobody corrects our kids with wrong words. And because of the way we have built our kids, they've been able to open up to us when they are
yeah,
also receiving wrong words from either the kids in the neighborhood or even at school, and then we can have a way of rewarding their minds, because every time they come and we are all consistently listening to their expressions, to the words that they are speaking. Anytime we see and hear a new kind of foreign language in our house, we know that something has happened outside
Mm,
of our family, and then we find a way to correct them in love without using those expletives that our parents or people who trained us while we're coming up used to use, even teachers back in the days. So this is
mm.
a very, very topical conversation. So guys, have you shared? Okay, I've seen Concepta has shared, Faith Oboyo has shared, Nanlep has shared. Please guys, please share this live stream, right? Share it right now on your timeline and let's know. So if you got questions, please drop for drop for us in the comment section, and then I'm going to bring it up so that the Jones can. The Jones, I know you've shared quite a lot, of experiences, a lot of your stories in dealing with individuals. I don't know if you've had very, very traumatic ones, and how they have been able to deal. Because I know that there are so many cases that you can even look at and say, "Oh man, this one is beyond redemption." I don't know if you've experienced something like that in your journey as a coach, as a therapist, and how have you been able to help these individuals? Because I feel that a lot of us need a lot of interventions. I'm just thinking if you've gotten something like that as we wait for the questions to drop.
Okay. Let me share two experiences. The first experience is a 16-year-old girl. I started working with for, I think, for a couple of years. I mean, I've been working with this girl for a couple of years, and then this is what happens. She'll always self harm herself, right? She'll always cut herself. She'll bleed. They will take her to hospital. She would cut herself again, and then the parents are worried, like, what happened? The dad is a popular religious leader, right? Of course, for the sake of this conversation, I'll keep that name out. So he's a popular religious leader. They have prayed about it. They have cancelled her. I mean, they've done everything they feel they can do, but they don't know why she will always self harm herself. And then there are times where she will even drink chemicals, like she wants to commit suicide, right? They will rush her to the hospital. They will treat her. I mean, this has happened over and over again. The parents have lost count. So in one of the conversations I was having with her, I said, "What is the worst thing that will happen if if you don't self harm yourself?" Of course, we had numerous conversations, but this day, we were having this conversation where, the dad called me and said, "Oh, it has happened again. She caught herself and then she had to pass out. Right now, they don't even know what they will do. The doctor is coming over to treat her. Please, can we find a way and see her?" So when we saw her, when I saw her, I was having this conversation with her. I said, "What is the worst thing that will happen that if you not caught her, if you did not caught yourself?" Now, this is what she said, which is instructive. She said, "If I don't cut myself, I don't see my father. If I don't cut myself, I don't see my father." Now, apparently, because her dad is very busy, right? As a popular, man of God, he's always busy. If he's not traveling, even when he's in town, he goes to the office in the morning. He gets back home around 10, so she hardly see him. So she said, the only way I can be seeing him, the only way I can have him by my side is when I'm sick. So while growing up, the only time she gets her father's attention is when she's sick. So when she's sick, he will come around, he will see her, he will spend time with her. If she cuts herself and then she's hospitalized, he will come, he will sit with her, he will spend time around her. When he goes, he will call, just to make sure how she is doing. And then she now said, "The only time I get his attention is when I'm sick." And then for her to get his time, she has to either cut herself or drink something or just find a way to be sick. That is her coping mechanism, or rather, that's her adaptive mechanism. So, um, that's one experience that it took us years of working, and then before we hit our aha moment, are like, "Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa! This is why you are self harming yourself." just because you need the attention of your father. Again, back to our definition of trauma. Trauma is not just what happens to you, but what is supposed to happen to you that didn't happen to you, because she didn't experience that attention and validation of her father. She has to get it in an unusual way. So trauma is a form of getting certain developmental needs in an unusual way. So another example is my client is a man, right? So this guy has always desired to settle down. However, um he will see this lady, beautiful, oh, as she meets my need, and after a while, boom, the relationship wouldn't work. He meets, another lady again. Oh man, she's so nice. He likes the fact that she's there, she's everything. Boom, the relationship will end again. And then it has happened over and over again. So when we started having this conversation, I said, what's happening? Right? Tell me where you're coming from. Tell me your experiences. And he started telling me about his mom, that he grew up in a home where there used to be love. However, something happened. His dad lost his job, and his mom, was the person that was taking care of the family. And then at some point, the mom started becoming, abusive to the father, verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, to some point, even physically abusive, right? Because, of course, because she was handling everything, she was abusive. Now, this was happening when he started a relationship, and then the relationship is going very well, and then the lady is affectionate. It makes him scared of the fact that, listen, I'm coming from a place where I saw my mom so loving at one point in my life. Then at another point in my life, she was abusive, right? So the more the ladies he's going in a relationship with start getting loving, start getting caring, it triggers him, it makes him defensive, it makes him scared, and then he will end the relationship. And then this is what happens. You get to the next relationship, he desire a lady that is faithful, a lady that is, of course, is loving. However, when she starts showing love, the love triggers him. Now, what's the trigger? The experience of the past. Loving mother that turned out to be, abusive and troublesome. And then he will end the relationship. And that has been the circle. That has been the circle. So for me, we had to, like, listen, calm down, right? You need to understand the trajectory and journey of your parents, right? That this happened with your parents does not mean it will happen to you. And then through intervention, make him understand, what happened. Of course, for him too, helping him see the pattern of his interpretation, and then how his interpretation is impacting how he feels, and then how the meaning he's attaching to the relationship between his father and mother is causing physiological injury to him. So through that journey, it took him time to let his body realize that, guys, make una calm down. I know you guys want to save me. I know you guys don't want to see me hurt, but I'm not there, right? I'm not my father. I'm not my mother. I'm not in that environment. I'm in a different environment entirely, right? And then with the right knowledge, with the right skill, I can be able to start nurture a relationship that is healthy. More importantly, I need to check the vibes I'm giving out, and then what I'm doing, what I'm co-creating to impact or to destabilize the relationship I desire. However, I am sabotaging. There are more experiences we can, go into, of people that are struggling in an aspect of their life. However, with time, when they sought intervention, when they looked at the experience of their past, what the contributory roles they played in the experience they are going through, and what they need to do to be able to get out of this trauma loop that puts them in a circle, that puts them in a circle. Let me pause these experiences to see if we have questions so that I can respond to them.
Okay, God, thank you so much. So somebody's asking, can you recommend some books I can read on parenting and trauma? Yeah.
Okay, I've written a book, Trauma Informed Parenting, right? That book talks about trauma in relation to parenting. It goes deep to explain the impact of childhood trauma on how you parent. So, if you want to get that book, you can send me a message. You'll get that book, and then I've equally written Trauma and Money. That that book is about the impact of trauma and why people struggle with money, why people are ashamed of money, why people are always broke, why people are either overcompensating or undercompensating, with money. So I've written books around trauma, and if you want to pay attention to how trauma plays a role in your relationship or marriage, I've equally written another book again, Why Always You. So whoever desires books that has to, that emphasizes trauma in relation to parenting and other aspect of life like money, like marriage, you can send me a DM. I have written books to that regard that will help you. Consequently, you can go on Amazon, and check books that talks about that issue.
Okay, thank you so much. I don't think there are other questions. We have done 1 hour 8 minutes so far. So guys, I don't know if you've got questions. If there are still questions, if you join late, please you can watch the replay of this. All right. So if there are no other questions, I think we can call it a day on this
Yeah.
conversation. Please, Ade Jones, how can we follow you? How can we connect to you? How can, just in case we want to truly be in your circle? And I don't know if you've got an academy or if you've got some, maybe a community that you help, in terms of growing. I mean, grooming children. I don't know if you've got something like that you can share with us.
Yes. So there are three communities I run. The first community is for parents. DPN. DPN is daily parenting nugget. It's a community of parents where that desire to be intentional parents. So for the end of registration, it's very cheap. It's just 1,000 naira, right? There I'm grooming parents, and then I have the inner circle where we deal with deeper issues, especially as it regards trauma issues in parenting, in marriage. Registration for the inner circle equally very affordable, just 15,000. And then I run transformation, trauma formation. So trauma formation is a 6 week course I run for individuals that want to deal with deep-seated trauma issues. If you're dealing with some forms of trauma and then you want guidance, one can join that community. And I'm equally open to offering therapeutic intervention if you have issues regarding childhood trauma, or if you're dealing with issues with your finances, in your marriage, in your parenting, and you feel the root is tied to childhood trauma, and then you want one-on-one intervention, therapeutic intervention, then you can get across to me. How do you get across to me? I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, and then I'm on WhatsApp, right? On Facebook, I'm Adeh Jones. On Instagram, I'm Adeh Jones one. And then on WhatsApp, on Telegram, or other platforms, when you connect with me on Facebook, then you can get those details on how to connect with me. So feel free, check out my Facebook wall. There are so much information you can get there. There are books you can get there as a parent. There are courses you can get as a parent. And of course, if you want to register for any of the courses, the groups, the communities I run, DPN or my inner circle or trauma formation, you can equally connect with me on Facebook. Send me a message on Facebook. I'll respond and then guide you through. It's as if Betty is asking a question.
Yes, Betty's asking a question. I don't know if are you seeing it from that? And can you see the question?
Yeah, I'm trying to say it. She said, I have this experience with my dad and mom, which have been affecting my relationship so badly. My mom struggled to take care of me and wasn't supported by dad. And my dad's relationship with my mom had had been a yardstick in which I measure my relationship I get into. I get worried and tired of relationship once I notice any single that any single trait of behavior that looks like how my mom was treated. That has been a problem. How do I navigate that? Okay, first, Betty, I want to thank you so much for being vulnerable, to share this experience. Um, Whenever you see those kind of traces, right, like you're being triggered, you're being triggered. Now, what you need to do is that you need to now first understand how did that make you feel, right? How did your the house did the house impute fear? Did the house impute absence of control? Did the house make you feel, oh, there's no authenticity, right? And then you need to now pay attention to your trauma imprint. Your trauma imprint is that is the flight, like you're trying to run away from these experiences. You're trying to run away from the experiences. So what you need to do is you need to find a way to first teach your body to be safe, right? To realize that a lot of times it's not that this experience is making me feel unsafe, is that your body is hyper aroused, that your body is just looking for something that just looks like that experience, and then it sets you off into a defensive mood. So you need to check it out. Now, check these experiences. Are these experiences truly sabotaging, or it's your interpretation? And then what led to that relationship that for you are trying to take it personal? There's a trauma term called parentification. Parentification is that 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 position a child picks to unconsciously fight the battle of the parents, of one of the parents. So if you have a parent that maybe one of the parents you know was abusive to, unconsciously you take the position that you are the protector. So you want to fight their battle. So that's parentification. Or if you had an experience with one of the parents telling you so much about what the other partner is doing, unconsciously you want to side this one that is hurting. So you need to ask yourself, what really are you struggling with? Is it parentification? Are you unconsciously trying to fight the battle of these other parents, or you are trying to protect yourself against experiences that can recreate what you're going through? Do you have high yardstick? Why do you have that high yardstick? Is it because you want to overcompensate for what you didn't have, or you want to protect yourself? And there might be protecting yourself is healthy, right? That's what your body is doing. Try to make sure that you don't experience that. So, what our advice is, probably you need intervention so that the scope of the experience can be better understood, and then you'll be guided on how to better tone down your physiological experience so that you can be guided to navigate other relationship, and then not being hyper aroused, or you are not finding these issues. A lot of times you are just finding these issues so that you back off. So getting intervention will be key to solving this issue long term.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ade Jones. I think I'll have to let you go so that you can rest. I know you
Thank
have
you
got
so much.
so much value in us. Thank you, everybody. So, guys, please go and follow Ade Jones. and read what he shares on his timeline. So I read him, I follow, and then I put into the lives of into the lives of my own kids. I don't want to joke with my three kids. I'm raising them to become very confident and highly intelligent children, and so I'm raising them differently from the way my I wouldn't say my own parents were really that. Let me put it. Really how do I put it, abusive, in raising us. But I'm trying to be better off in terms of raising my own kids, and I'm happy that some of the things I'm learning from you, I'm learning from Wendy, I'm learning from Ronke Posh. I keep learning these things, and they help me to raise my own kids effectively. Thank you so much, Ade
So
Jones,
by the way,
for
please let me say something before we wrap up, right?
okay.
Because of what you just said, um, you don't have to be an abusive or bad parent, to traumatize your child. Now that's what we need to understand. So you can have good parents that, because of some experiences, it imputes physiological wound to you. Remember, I said trauma is not just what happens to you, but what's supposed to happen to you that didn't happen to you. So, as parents, we must understand that um, your good intentions can impute injury emotionally or physiological to our child, right? As a matter of fact, you having a bad day can be a source of trauma to your child, because no child wants to see you sad. No child wants to see you going through pain. So you can be going through some form of pain, and then the child will be like scared because of the energy you're expressing, because of the pain you're going through. Your child will feel unsafe. Don't forget, your child is supposed to feel safe around you, but because of what you're going through, your child will feel unsafe. That feeling unsafe can be, as a can cause trauma wound. You can be having issues with your partner, and then your child, it will impact your child, in a traumatic way. Divorce can have impact on a child. The death of a sibling, the death of your partner can have, traumatic recall to a child. Not being available because of work can have a traumatic recall. Now, so like I said, trauma is not a bad thing, right? As intentional parents, we just need to know that I need to pay attention to the experience of my child, and then I need to know how to dial in to help my child when certain things I've done out of a good intention, right, is eliciting emotional or physiological injury to my child. So I said, let me just chip in here so that parents who are listening will know that you can have good intentions, and then there are some things you will go through, right? Your own personal struggle in your marriage, in your finances, and then your children, it will impute some form of pain to them because they don't know why you're going through this pain. And then children will always feel, oh, something must be wrong with me, or it's because of me, my parents are going through this, and then it can be a source of trauma that will show up later in their lives.
Waiting person no kapasa mo. Waiting person. Now I'm knowing this one, that trauma is really not what happened to you, but what's supposed to happen to you that did not happen. Oh my god. There's no end to learning. This
Yeah.
life, I swear. Oh
Now, I
god.
think
Thank you
that's
so
why
much.
that's why I'm so happy for this conversation we're having. A lot of
Yeah.
people will now come to this realization to realize that, oh, trauma is not even a bad thing. No, it's not
Mm.
something I should be ashamed of. It's not something I should be scared of. No, it just means that my body needed some things that I did not get, and then my body is behaving this way, right, as a form of coping or adaptive mechanism. So that does it, right? Something that's supposed to happen that it did not happen. A child needs certain needs. If you do not give those needs to the child, right, as a form of coping mechanism, the child, or the body will start behaving a certain way. A child is supposed to cry. If you do not allow the child to cry, the child will suppress that cry, right? And then this suppressing can lead to autoimmune diseases, right? Because our emotions are attached to our immune system. If you suppress your emotion, you affect your immune system, right? So children who are not allowed to express their emotions, you can have autoimmune diseases like rheumatic arthritis. I mean, issues you can go through. So just this seemingly healthy experience a child should have that a child is not having can lead to addiction. Of course, the reason why we have addiction is because of trauma as a form of compensation. So you do it over and over again. Addiction, trauma impacts your emotional and mental health, trauma impacts your sexual life. I mean, we can go on and on and on. It's just the body's form of saying, okay, Kai, since I did not get this, right? I need to help you do this so that you can stay sane. Okay, if you're in a place where there's so much hot, of course you can't run away from this so much hot. So you have to learn to numb how you feel. You have to learn to be invisible, right? That's why you can find someone that is sexually abused and the person will tell you, I just moved on, nothing happened. No, it's not that nothing happened, right? Your body just learned to dissociate that experience. So that experience will not cause you perpetual pain. You emotionally abuse a child, the child will just learn to bottle it. And then if you bottle it, the child can grow up, start lashing out on people. So the child is lashing out because there are deposit of hurt that was not expressed. Of course, hurt is meant to be expressed, right? And again, like I said earlier on, we have culture that just makes you suppress how you feel. We have culture um that normalizes you being neglected. They will tell you you'll be fine. They minimize how you feel. You should even be happy, self. Your father is taking care of you. What about me that my father is not here? And then they start making you feel how you even feel self, as if you're ungrateful. You should be grateful that your mother did not abort you. So you hear parents saying it, right? You should even be thankful that I did not even abort yourself. You should be thankful that I even did this to you. So this child grows up feeling how I feel is not necessary, how I feel is not valid. And then before you know it, this person grows up, is an abuser. This person grows up, is not emotionally available. This person grows up, um, he can't accommodate the hurt of people. So you hear people, if you're sharing how you feel, they tell you, please move on with it, right? Are you the only person? They will shut you down. It's because while growing up, no one made them feel how they feel is valid, right? So they suppress their own hurt. And then because they suppress their own hurt, they can accommodate your hurt. So unconsciously, they want to make you suppress your hurt. This thing is a circle. We can go on and on. That little experiences that a child does not have can impact this child's life all through adulthood and affect other relationships the child will go through. There's so much more we can talk about. But again, it's an ongoing conversation, and I believe that with what we're doing now, more people come to this awareness.
Ade Jones, right now I'm thinking of inviting you. When next can you come again with another topic or maybe a continuation of this? Because I think a whole lot more people need to listen to. You need to come back to share. I'm particularly interested about these things about childhood. So we have to book another date, and you have to come back and share with us, so that we can be able to build, healthy kids and for the society. So thank you so much for this great conversation. We're going to chat
Thank you
after
so
now.
much, sir.
We can discuss when next you can come and with another great conversation for us. So thank you, Ade Jones. God bless
Thank
you
you
so
so much,
much
sir.
from here in the city of Enugu, and to everybody who participated in this live stream experience, and to those who will watch. Please do share with your community, share it on your timeline, encourage your friends, your family members to listen to what Ade Jones has said. I mean, one thing that I learned tonight was that trauma, all right, trauma is not really what happened to you, because this is how I've always been thinking in terms of trauma, that is something that has happened to me and it has to always be a negative thing. But tonight I have learned a new thing, right? But it is what is supposed to happen to me that
That did
didn't
not
happen.
happen.
So, I mean, I've learned tonight. I feel like the more that we get into knowledge, the more that we'll be able to live our lives better and effectively, more
Yeah.
effectively. And so, I think these conversations are very, very important. I mean, these are conversations that are supposed to be happening in churches, but the
Mm.
painful part is that when people express some of those things in church, they will tell you to pray. They will tell you to, I know that prayer is
Yeah.
good, But then what are you praying for? If you are, I remember going to Bible school and they say when you pray with knowledge, then your prayer can be effective. So if somebody's praying away his pain, but doesn't really understand the source of the pain,
Yeah.
what is happening to him. All right. So these are conversations that should happen in churches, within religious organizations, but sadly, they're not happening. And
Yes.
so if they're not happening within the church, then it's our responsibility outside of the church walls, but still in the world, to be able to hold this
Yes.
conversation. I'm glad that we are having this conversation. For those of us who have the platform to help other individuals to come into the knowledge of these things, I feel it will help to better our society. And then people can also, take it to their families, to their churches, to their offices, and then
Yeah.
build better relationships with other individuals and also help other individuals. So thank you, Adeh Jones, for coming.
Thank you
God bless
so
you
much.
so much. And good
God
night to
bless.
everyone. See you some other time. Good night.